So how did what's the genesis for the project for this movie? How did you come to think of wanting to do this movie?
Warner's called me. They saw the 30th anniversary coming along, and they're fans, and they said, look, we really want to do something in the animated space of Babylon 5, and do you want to take a shot at it? And I said, absolutely. But I also realized when that call came that if we did an animated movie, on the one hand, it means we could, show some of our characters, the actors of whom are no longer with us. And I sent an email to all the cast members who are still alive and said, if we do this movie, you may end up playing with actors portraying some of your fallen friends. And are you okay with that? And if anyone's not okay with it, we won't do it. Everyone has to be happy with it. And they all came back and said absolutely, because they wanted to use this as an opportunity to sort of memorialize their fallen friends and the way that those performances define those characters and carry that forward on behalf of those actors. And so that gave me the freedom to do it. And then came the question of what's going to be about, and I wanted to do a celebration of the show, a celebration of the fans, the actors, something lighthearted. Oddly enough, even though I'm an atheist, a line from the Bible came to mind, which is, make a joyful noise. I thought, let's make a joyful noise. Let's get out there and just have some frickin' fun. And mainly as well to make a love letter to the fans who have been patient and waiting for 20 years for something new to come along, and show our appreciation for that.
How careful were you about that recasting process for those actors that are no longer with us, to just make sure it still fit this true tradition of those characters?
Yeah, we didn't want it to do like an imitation of them, of their voices. That wasn't the goal, but to capture the essence of them, to sort of create the sensibility of them. And the actors who came in to play those roles understood the enormity of what they were being asked to do, to pick up from another actor who's not there anymore. And they really brought their A games to this thing and brought the performances to life. So I could not be happier with what they did.
When it comes to a lot of the representation that you have in the show, going all the way back to Ivanova and Talia, and then your work on Sensei, you have a strong reputation with LGBT fans. I'm just wondering if there's anything you can speak to that maybe with this project. I know Ivanova's in it, which is great, but anything else you can maybe say?
Not in this one. I do tend to try and work those things in because I think that's important. Look, as a culture, we have been fractionalized and marginalized and tribalized within an inch of our lives, and been told that that person is the enemy. And I believe that the common point of our shared humanity will ultimately overcome all of that. So I've always tried to take a stand. Even back in B5, when we had scenes in the Zocalo, which is like this big dining area, we would have same-sex couples holding hands. We had our two male leads going undercover as a married couple, and no one said two things about it. It was just a given, So I did not factor into this particular story, but if there were to be more, I would not hesitate to do that.
This being animated, did you find anything more freeing in that medium that you were able to do that you might not be able to do if it had been live action?
Yeah, well, certainly in terms of the original show, because that was all shot inside of an old hot tub factory in Sun Valley. And the farthest we got on location was into the parking lot. So the idea of being able to go to Earth and go to other worlds and other timelines and open it up and show the fans things that we could never ever show in the course of the original series was very appealing, and we did that. It's almost like a travel log with the B5 universe.
What would you say was the most challenging part about bringing this to life?
I wish there was a challenging part. It'd be a really good story, but every inch of it was joyful. The folks in the animation area for Warner Brothers were so respectful. I had to actually sort of say to them, "Don't worry about it. It's okay. You can play." We did what we could with effects at that time, the best we could. But if there's a way to make it look better now, don't be precious about it. Don't feel you have to not step on my toes. If you go too far, I'll pull you back. but I want you guys to have fun and have some measure of ownership of how things look and be free to play. Because if you're not free to play, why are you doing it? So they were fun. The actors had a great time doing the audio tracks for this thing. I was on Zoom with most of them when we did them. They were just having a blast going back to those characters. They just put it back on like a pair of shoes, that you are very familiar with. And the mix down was great. There was not a bump in the road. I've always been a pain in the ass. All right. I've always said straight up, if a studio is screwing around, a studio is screwing around. There were no bumps at all. It could not have been smoother. They were so respectful, so kind, so collaborative, and they're all fans. And a lot of the guys who worked in CG grew up on the effects of Babylon 5, so that for them to come back and work on Babylon 5 was like, yes.
Do you anticipate there being any more of these, or do you have any ideas for how you want to continue?
I've been told that if this does well, that there will be others down the road. I think they have to figure out the Zaslav of it all and how the money is going to be spread around in Warner Brothers and the new leadership of Warner Brothers. But once that is all nailed down, I would be surprised if they didn't do more of these, because the sales on the first one have just been through the roof. I think more so than they actually anticipated. So, I have more ideas. I've never not had Babylon 5 ideas. I still hear the characters in my head on a regular basis. It's not getting them to talk to him to shut up is the hard part.
So you described it as a love letter to fans, and I was wondering, for people who haven't seen it before, are they going to be able to jump right in, or do you recommend we try to get everyone to binge watch all the seasons?
I think that so many movies now, I think in multiversal things you have to do homework for, and you shouldn't have to do that to enjoy a movie. So if you've seen the show, you'll get a lot out of it. If you've never seen a frame of Babylon 5, you can follow this very easily. The structure is very clean, and the humor works regardless. If you go back and watch the show and come back and watch it a second time on the other movie, then you will see things you didn't see before. It's like the old Warner Brothers cartoons were written so that adults and kids appreciated them on two different levels. For the kid watching the Roadrunner is one story, for an adult it's something else. So I integrated that with this one so that anybody can watch this and enjoy it.
You had mentioned you have so many ideas, naturally being the creator of the show. Was it a big challenge once you started writing, coming up with all the, and going, how am I going to fit this all in? What has to stay? What goes?
Yeah, the writing process is always the same in the sense that you think, how the hell am I going to fill up 95 pages? Then halfway through is it, how am I going to squeeze all this into 95 pages? Shit. But because I know the universe so well, because the characters never stop talking, my biggest problem was just cutting the scenes in terms of time, because they would just keep on going. It's like, okay, come on guys, cut it back, So no, the script was a very, very quick write. They turned it in. They had no notes, and they just shot it. Whereas this was done to the Animation Union, not the Writers Guild. Whereas SAG covered both. That's why the actors can't be here, unfortunately, which is such a loss, because they're so excited about this, and when they found out that they couldn't attend, their hearts just broke. They were just threatening in tears. And the only reason I can be here is that I wasn't hired through Writers Guild. I was hired through the Animation Union, Local 839. But therefore, I can't talk about the Blu-ray release or any of that stuff. Yeah.
To go back to creating the script, how much of it actually did you have to cut, and then when you took it to actual production, how much of that did you have to cut? Or was it pretty much once the script was done, you kept everything through production into post-production?
Yeah, once I got the characters to shut up after a while, I hit the end of the script, first draft. I thought, should I go back and make changes? But no, I think let's get the reaction. I turned it in, and they said, this is great, we love this. So basically what was in the first draft is what's on the screen. And I've been very fortunate that happens to me a lot. I wrote Changeling, that Clint Eastwood directed, and he shot the first draft. There were no changes, no notes. And so I assume it is either due to my being able to write well to production or the blackmail pictures that I have. It's got to be one or the other.
So when it comes to this being animated, were there certain things that you were able to do when writing it that you may not have been able to do if it was live action? Like, did it give you more freedom or anything like that?
Well, if I had live action with $200 million budget, I could do almost anything. But certainly, doing things that the fans have heard about but not seen, like going to Zahadum, and what actually happened there, and going to the rim of the known universe, which happens in the course of this thing, and who's waiting for them there. It would have been very hard to have done back then. So I think the opportunity of the animation to do things that I knew that could not be done any other way.
Do you kind of approach designing set pieces differently for live action than you do for animation? Obviously, you get to open things up a little bit more, like you said. What's the process like with communicating with the animators on how to bring these settings together?
I never really, everything I do, I approach from a character point of view. It's all about what does the character want, how far would they go to get it, how else must go to stop them, and what they will do about it. So I never think in those terms. I only think about what's the character doing and what do they want, how are they going to get there.